Hello, I'm Ulric the Curator, and welcome to Cackling Cactus Curiosities presents Haunted Objects. So on this series, I'm going to be exploring objects with sinister pasts, objects that may or may not have spirits trapped within, and even objects that are just plain weird. So today I would like to start out with this snow cone maker. Seems pretty innocuous. It's, plastic. It's got a little handle on the back that you turn as you make your snow cones. You put the ice up top. This object itself was made in the late 60s, early to late 60s, which makes it about 60 years old today. You can see in the back, it says Hasbro on it, made in USA, patent pending. Hasbro's not a sponsor, by the way. Alright, so this object itself. This one's a little bit special in my collection. This particular object is pretty much the cherry on the sundae for a haunted house experience that I had growing up. So it was the early 2000s, I want to say 2001, 2002, around there. We were staying in a place in Edmonton. Now this building, from the outside, looked pretty normal, and even inside, I mean, aside from the noisy construction going on downstairs, the renovations that were constant, I had a pretty good view, and it was really close to my school, so all in all, it seemed like a decent place to live. But some peculiar things started to happen. So one of the things that would happen regularly is the TVs would just decide to change channels. We would be watching something on it, and out of the blue, boom, 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 it would flip and stop, and 9 times out of 10, it was something like a cooking show or a knitting channel. Definitely not stuff that we would normally watch. Now, we tried everything. We thought, maybe the remote was on the fritz. I know we swapped the remote a couple times. We replaced the batteries, but it didn't help. The TV would just regularly flip channels. So, I mean, yeah, you could discount that as possibly, some electronic interference or what have you. Fine. Also, whenever my mother would go on to put on her makeup, for instance, there was this obnoxious light in the bathroom there that would, for whatever reason, whenever she wanted to put on her makeup, it would just, flip off. So after calling a electrician, a good half a dozen times to look at this light, they couldn't find any reason why it would work some days and not work other days. And whenever said electrician would come in, of course the light functioned perfectly fine. It was a bit of a disconcerting mystery, that one. But going forward, one day my mother was outside and happened to ask, gee, I wonder when the construction and renovations were going off, like when's that going to stop? Well, the response to her inquiry was, what renovations? What construction? Turns out, all that banging, all that creaking that we were hearing, this was really loud throughout the day kind of thing, unmistakably sounded like construction. Turns out there was no such thing. There was no construction going on, no renovations. In fact, I believe the bottom unit beneath us was empty. So that was a little strange. I know myself, I noticed a lot of creepy goings-ons in that place. Footsteps in the middle of the night, walking, pacing almost back and forth between my bedroom and my parents' bedroom. Turns out I was actually staying in the bedroom of the deceased person we believe was responsible for all this activity, but I'll get to that. Of course, I was 11, 12 years old, and even then I would not open my eyes for anything. I did not want to see whatever it was pacing back and forth. Originally I thought, oh, it's one of my parents or what have you, but no, they usually sleep really soundly, and it's bizarre behavior to just pace back and forth like that. So no, I've asked them, definitely was not them doing that. So it turns out that the owner of the place that we were renting it from, her mother had passed away, except she kind of refused to accept that. Primarily, I assume it was from, still trying to cash in her payments or what have you from the government. But essentially, she kept her mother alive. She referred to this person in as if she was still existing, as she was still present. And so the reason we suspect why it was this person's mother that was ghosting us, so to speak, was because we had, as part of the place that we were renting, there was a small wooden chest, about yay big, yay high. And it was in serious disrepair. It really needed, to be repaired. It needed like elbow grease to like rub off some of the scuffs and stains that were on it. And so my mother, of course, fed up with the flickering lights in the bathroom, announced loudly, she was the only one in the place, as she says, "Okay, if I take care of this for you, if I clean this chest, will you please let me get my makeup on in the morning?" Well, right after she did that, no problems whatsoever with that light. Never had a flickering light, never had any issue whatsoever. At least in terms of putting on makeup and whatnot. Still, TV changing channels, footsteps, even the banging and the banging of the pipes and whatnot beneath there that we still, it sounded an awful lot like construction. That's how loud, to give you an idea how loud it was like someone was like, constructing or performing renovations right beneath your feet. So I am off topic slightly, but as I said before, this snow cone maker right here is the cherry on the sundae, and why I will always believe in the paranormal, in spirits. So this snow cone maker, it had been put up. It was about maybe 12 feet off the ground. It was a pretty high ceiling there in that place where we were living. It was high up there, and me being a curious kid, I'm like, oh, hey, what's that? I want to see that, right? My mom was like, I can't be bothered to do that. We're really busy right now. I'll get to it eventually, kind of thing. Because she'd have to haul out the ladder, and it's a lot of work just to say, oh, okay, it's a snow cone maker. Well, one day I was sitting there at the table. My grandmother was beside me. My mother was in the kitchen there cooking. And we were just, talking, having a regular old time, when all of a sudden the snow cone maker proceeded to float ever so gently off the shelf, down a good maybe 8-9 feet, slowly towards me. Needless to say, it was incredibly unsettling. Both me and my grandmother were caught deer in headlights. My mother had the fortunate experience of seeing it glide past her shoulder. Proceeded to glide, went all the way across the room, and gently towards the back windowsill, good 10, even like 13 feet away. This is a big room. It hits the ground. Now, it's a little hard to tell, online here, but this object itself is very fragile. If it were to fall from 12 feet, just, with regular gravity applied to it, it would be shattered beyond belief. Upon, gathering up the courage to pick up the object and check it out after this freakish event, we found no chips, no damages. It was perfectly fine. Now, to this day, it's definitely something that I will never forget. And why this object, which looks pretty, like I mentioned before earlier, it looks pretty innocuous, but after witnessing that, it gets a little creepy. So my only guess is that the spirit or presence or entity that was in that place we were living at saw it and understood somehow my desire to see it, and because my mother wasn't grabbing it or what have you, decided to take its matter into its own hands and levitate the thing across the room right at me. Thanks, I guess. No, but seriously, definitely this item right here is really important to me, especially in my journeys and seeking items that are strange, weird, have interesting histories behind them. And by saying that, I also mean if anyone is interested in bringing in their objects that are, again, have an interesting past, or possibly are trigger objects of sorts, which I do believe this one is. I don't believe anything is specifically inside the snow cone maker. The activity and whatnot kind of ceased once we left. But it definitely functioned as a trigger object, at least in that situation. But yeah, if you have a similar object like that, or you want its story told, then yeah, by all means, stop by the store, Cackling Cactus Curiosities. We're located in Burnaby, British Columbia. And yeah, you can definitely check us out on our Facebook page, and if you're interested in appearing on the show, let us know. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.